So the disruptive comment that was just made in class before the recording started was that we don't need to finish. And in fact, we have finished the program. So what I'd like to do today is get some more requirements for our program and change it together. We have a completed application here. A mere 244 lines of code. What are some requirements? Let's make some lists. What requirements should we, what features should we add here?
Trampoline.
Trampoline. Give me some deets.
All right. Well, if they have a trampoline, it'll then depend on how many total dependents, as well as including their spouse and themselves.
Mm-hmm. So total number of people in the family.
Yeah. And that will multiply by whatever we assign the value to trampoline. So trampoline will be like 1.5 or something like that. And then per person, it'll times it out, or it'll be a whole number, I guess.
Multiplied by trampoline factor, TBD, adds to likelihood score?
Yep.
Okay. I like it.
So more likely to get all those broken arms that you put in your first document.
So we got a trampoline when we lived in Saratoga Springs, had the big old crazy 6-foot-high electrified fence around the trampoline. It's supposed to be kid-proof. So my son's just jumping in there one day, lands wrong, spiral fracture in his leg.
Oh.
Jeez. Just because he landed wrong.
On the mat?
On the mat. He didn't like stick his leg through anything. He just jumped up and then jumped down and cracked one of his leg.
Like this?
Yeah. It was more like a fracture that kind of wound around and down. Yeah.
Does he have a metal rod in his leg?
No, they told us it was the best way to break your leg.
Mm.
So whatever that means.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So what are some other requirements? What other requirements would you like to see this application do? Think about our HSAs here at Health Equity. Are we closely modeling our HSAs at Health Equity? Are we missing anything?
So I built a out-of-pocket calculator so that if there was ever a time when you didn't have enough money to cover an event, it would actually track that and record that basically as a separate output.
Okay, so if an event happens that requires a deduction, and the deduction's amount is greater than our HSA, it doesn't allow the HSA to go negative.
Right, it'll fix it at zero, but it'll also
fix it at zero. Okay, I like it.
You have a separate counter.
Basically.
We'll keep that one kind of only in the event that it occurs at the balance is zero, but you have to get through that. Also do an interest calculator. We do offer interest on our HSAs.
I like it.
We can do it the same way we do it here, where we do have tiers, the different.
So with this,
Okay,
with this,
today's the last day.
I mean, we're gonna vote on them here in just a minute, right? And then we'll have our priority and we'll go from there. So interest calculator, monthly we'll add interest or yearly?
We modeled it after this. How do we do it here?
Monthly. Adds an amount to the HSA based on the balance, parentheses tiers, based on the balance, there will be a tiered rate, right? So if they have a lot of money, they get more interest or less interest, depending on how stingy we feel. All right, what are some other calculations you think we could do?
Iterate the user age once a year.
Oh, yes, because in 5 years, you should have at least one birthday.
Which could change your age thing, right?
Which would change your age thing. Yeah, if I'm 69 and I run this projection, my age factor should go up. Okay, age the user. Every 12 months. So how did you do it? Did you ask for birthday, or did you do that?
I actually didn't do this
Okay.
one, but
I'm erasing this entire one.
yeah,
I'm just no. How would we want to do that? Would we want to ask them for their birthday, and just in the month of their birthday, we add one to age, or do you just want to add one to age at the beginning of every year or every 12 months? Month of their birthday. Okay, so we're going to ask for a birthday, and then we're going to make them age anytime that month happens. Let's get one more requirement before we vote. Any other requirement? Anything else we'd want to add to the file?
contribution limits.
Contribution limits. Okay. The app has a known employer contribution limit or just total contribution limit?
I did a yearly contribution limits.
Okay, yearly contribution limit. Contributions above the limit should be rejected. Great, okay, we've got 5 additional requirements here. So everyone gets 2 votes. Does anyone have any questions about these before we start voting? Okay, so everyone gets 2 votes. Who wants to do the trampoline? Raise a hand. Got 1.
Well, there's better ideas up there.
Okay, who would like to do the out-of-pocket calculator? Raise a hand. Have 1? Was it? No? Okay. Interest calculator, raise a hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I guess, do I get to vote then?
Why not? Why not? Okay, age the user. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and contribution limits. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Oh, but I can't.
You guys are terrible. Just terrible. Okay.
That's all right. It's a liquid college, so I should do number 1.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's start with aging the user, and we'll see how far we get, and maybe we'll vote again after the fact. I don't know. All right, so aging the user. We're going to add another input here. We're going to ask the user for their birthday. We're going to store their birthday. Then we need to know if the month that we are processing is their birth month, and if so, increase the age. And make sure that the increased age is used, not just the age that they supplied at the beginning of the program. So at this point, I'm going to walk away from the keyboard, and I would like one of you to come up and type, and I will yell at you. So who wants that? I'm just kidding. No, let's build it together as a class. I can stay at the keyboard if you want, but I'm not going to give any suggestions. I am now Itzhak, the smart keyboard. What do you got for me?
Which one are we working on first?
Yeah.
We're doing aging the user.
Then I can-
Aging the user. So we're going to ask the user for their birthday, then add 1 to their age every month that their birthday should fall in.
I would change int age, line 12, get valid number from user, and I would change it, what is your age, to what is your birthday? And then what is your, how do you word it?
So I guess we need to figure out how we're going to gather their birthday. Are we going to ask them for their day, month, and year?
Oh, we
We just
need a
look
new
mark it.
line because we still need to know their age so that we can increase their age.
Yeah, we still need to know the age, we need to know the start, otherwise they'll basically start at 0 and then go, because
But
that's
if
the
you
value.
know their birthday, you calculate
Yeah,
their
so
age.
you can get their age from their birthday.
Yeah. Well, but we
That's
also
not-
don't have a current calculated date at the time that this user is inputting the data. We could. We could just put in a static, just it's this today.
I will give you a hint now that I said I will give no hints. There is a way that you can grab the current date and time from the computer that the code is running on, right? We didn't cover this in the course, but I will just say that you can, there's a variable type, and we didn't talk about this because we didn't talk about classes, but there is a data type called date time. Right. This is all you got to do to store. Now, it's very difficult to describe because we haven't talked about classes or objects, but this is an object that represents the current date and time. Actually, it represents the current date. It doesn't represent the current time. Right now would represent the current date and time.
Is that a keyword?
That is a
Now
keyword.
versus today.
Mhm.
So I would say, what is your date of birth? And then I would format it, day, month, year.
What's the difference between the date, time, and their birthday? Figure out their age.
So change what is your age to what is your date of birth, and then put in parentheses DD/MM/YYYY.
Do we really,
You can
well,
just-
we've
you can
already
do like-
hard coded the variable age to the rest of the code. Do we really want to get rid of that? Good point. We could still call that age.
So when you use the daytime, you can actually say minus this number of years.
Yeah.
I would keep the age variable. I would just calculate their age based off the date. Then you could just assign their age to that after you do the calculation. And you don't have to change your age variable anywhere.
If I were to ask the computer wiki, is there an easy way to do a replace all?
Yes, there it is.
Because at that point, we could update age to be different variables so that we don't get confused on what it is, but then also still do what we were just going to do, but we're just now using the line we already have and replacing all the areas where we're using the word age. So I vote doing that and then putting in whatever it is that we decided we wanted to put in. Birthday, birth date. Anybody? Yeah.
So are you saying to replace age with like birthday?
Yeah, because we were wanting to get we wanted to calculate the age based off of them providing us the birth date and then.
So I guess so if you change age everywhere to birthday, doesn't age have to be like a number? It's like if you're doing all your calculations expecting it to be a number, wouldn't it now be a date?
I think we'll still set age, we're just in a different location than here in the gather user code.
Yeah, so I would get their birth date and then calculate their age. So you're not asking them their age, you're assigning it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you could just say birthday equals age.
Okay, the discussion in the room is, we have the age variable. I'm just repeating for the recording. We have the age variable. We want to keep the age variable because we use it in a lot of places here in our program. But the question that we're asking right here may be incorrect. Maybe we need to ask for their birthday and then calculate their age so we can have the best of both worlds. Ask the birthday, know their birth month, but also be able to keep the age variable. And do we have a majority? Can I get an amen? All right.
Condor.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get their birthday.
Yeah, just do their birthday and then tie that back to the age variable.
Okay, here I go. Do birthday.
That's
Do wow.
There you go. What do I need to write to get their birthday? It's not confused.
Do we want to store the birthday as a string or as a date?
I would counter that question with the same question.
I would say store it as a date. So I would say date time birth date. Birth date equals, and then I guess, and everybody else can chime in too, but I would say maybe get valid. I would create a method called get valid string from member or date from member. Because I was gonna say what they pass in is considered a string, and then you're gonna convert it to a date, right? So yeah, get valid date from member or user. Sorry. Yeah.
I think we have a string one that's get answer from user. Or no,
That probably.
never mind, you're right.
Or we're gonna return a date
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
So we do have get answer from user. Let's go take a looky look.
Probably has validation to make sure it's.
It does. Is valid answer says
Yeah.
unless the answer is no or yes, it's not valid.
So
Yeah, I would say go with this route.
Okay. We use our fancy Visual Studio trick to generate method because it has the lazy.
So at that point, though, it's going to check if their answer is yes or no. I'm going to check if their answer.
No, we're not using that.
What were you?
No, oh, which one are we using?
We're creating.
Oh, we're creating. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we've just created a new function, get valid date from user. Okay, and we passed it a question. What is your birth date? And you, Kurt, had said
DD, MM, YYYY.
DD, MM, YYYY.
Rather than creating a new one, could we use the old one and just replace the values instead of it being yes and no, X and Y, and then above, I can't remember what it's called, not concatenate, where you can put in, help me out, where you, in the parentheses, right before the what is your birthday, we would actually put what the input's gonna be. We would provide the, for the other ones, we provide yes and no, and on this one, we would provide.
So convert it into a date format before we pass it into the method.
Yeah, I'd say the only issue is that, so that method returns a string, which we don't want.
Right, we're returning it as a date method. Okay.
So I'll step in here. We didn't really cover dates, so maybe this was short-sighted of me, but you can definitely take a string and turn it into a date, but it's got to be in the correct format, just like you can take a string and turn it into a number. You can't turn cheese into a number. You can't turn 111111111 into a date, right? So there is going to have to be some validation checking. Okay, let's build this very similar to our other method, wherever you are. Answer, that was the name of it. Okay, I'm just gonna copy paste to this.
And then sometimes also it's good to have a method that just does one thing.
Right.
Right, because if we are trying to mix the answers, I mean, the questions that have different answers, then we're gonna have to have it using, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the best practice, but I was reading.
Okay, I'm going to write this is valid date on this input. I'm going to change the date time. So just like other variable types have a default value, the default value for a date time is datetime.min, which is like, I don't know.
Beginning of time.
It's the beginning of time. Okay, and I will just, yeah. It's the min value, which is
Absolute zero.
Doesn't tell you.
the smallest possible value of system.datetime.
You know it's real.
Yep. Okay. So we need to change this condition to say while answer is equal to date time dot min value, or in other words, we haven't put a new
And put in a date more than just 000.
Oh.
All right, let's generate this method. All right, Visual Studio failed us here. It said the return type should be bool. We want it to be date time. Read the room, Visual Studio. Okay. There's probably something we need to do here. I don't know if there's a try parse for dates, but let's go figure it out. Try parse date time C shape.
C3.
Oh, there is. Look at that. Try porpoise. Let's find an example. All right, we've got a bunch of date strings in this example. Some of them I assume are valid, some of them are not. Datetime.tryParse returns a bool, and it has an out parameter or an output parameter that is the parse date. So let's use it. Here we go. Var is valid is equal to datetime.try parse input, and we want out the date. Output parameters are something we didn't talk about. Basically, an output parameter is used when I want to return multiple values from my function. But as you know, we can only have one return type. So output variables allow us to pass values in, and after the function executes, the values will have been changed by the function, but they're still in scope. Don't ask me any more questions about that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Probably a better way to do this, but I'm tired of doing this. My question is, if the parsing fails, does this get set? And if it doesn't, then we're fine. We can just return the date. But if it does get set to something, I don't know what it could be set to. I've now decided that it couldn't be set to anything, so we just need to do this. All right, so we've set a variable, a date time variable, saying set it to the minimum value, then try and parse it. If it was successful, then the date will have the date that the user entered. If it doesn't, it will still have min value, where we call this function. We wonder if it's not the min value, then set the answer and return the answer. All right? So let's do this. I think before we run the program, I want to calculate age, just to make sure we didn't break anything before we add our aging code. So let's create a, now I'm done talking. Nope, we're still dealing with date times. I'm not done talking. Let's create a new function, get user age. This has to take in their birth date, and it will return an int. So please don't fail us, Visual Studio. You're our only hope. It didn't fail. Okay. Let's go see. So we have, first off, we have their birth date, and now we have date time right now equal to date time now. So we have their birth date, we have the current date and time. We need to do a date calculation to return their age.
I have a question. Does the date time right now formatted in day, month, year?
So no, it will, yeah.
You can actually
When you do a string, you can say you control the date format. So things like that. So to short date string, to short time string, to long date string, to long time string, to universal time. And then if you just go to string, you can specify any number of formats. You can find those formats on the internet's C#, CE, that is, CE sharp, C# date time format. And you can see a whole table right here. Here are formats that you can use. So interesting. Oh, baby.
First one looks great.
Very top.
Okay, I don't think I want a string right now, but
Right.
anyway, if I just want the date, I can just do today. No time component. Unless we want to ask the user for a birth hour? No? Okay.
Do you remember your birth hour?
No.
I don't think it applies to
No.
the population.
There you go.
I would make it up if I didn't.
All right, this is where I want to save some time, so I'm going to say C# calculate age from date of birth, and I'm going to go to Stack Overflow probably and find an algorithm and steal it.
That's
There
the
you
same
go.
one I found too.
Are you a Stack Overflow programmer?
Why not?
Who isn't?
Who is
Just like equivalent to GitHub.
No. This is Stack Overflow. Hey, I have this problem. You community of software developers, will you help me solve it? People get on and they're like, oh yeah, look how smart I am.
Did you look at it
Just
on
answer two more
April
those.
Fool's Day?
so many people at
They had like made it in the 90s and like
Yeah.
going background and like there was like star trails and you move your
Yeah, I can see that. There's probably that. It's in this article, but you posted this in the wrong place. Thank you for.
In case of a leap year,
Nope, we're just gonna do
we don't
this.
need to worry about leap
No,
years in this.
we don't need no stinking leap years. So all we're gonna do is take we're gonna do this. We're gonna take right now date time dot today dot year, which is an int, and we're gonna subtract that from birth date dot year. There you go. That's their age.
Beautiful.
So if the year today is 2019 and some old fogey was born in 1987, it would be
That old.
32.
31.
31.
Thanks very much.
That is sufficient for me.
89 and I'm 30.
You were born in 99?
89, I said.
I know, I was born in 87, and I'm still 31.
Well, it depends on.
That's right. Some temporary code
Your
here.
birthday was in. Because you could be 32.
I'm not 31. I'm not old.
Yeah.
You're old.
94.
You're older than me.
Oh, you already are 30 though.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which barely last month.
oh okay. Because my wife turns 30 in June. So. Birthday in March.
Yeah.
Guys, .NET isn't recognized.
Who was born in
98.
All right, we're going to
Yes.
ask for the birthday, and we're going to say 01, 01, 1987. And the age is 32. All right,
Nice.
I think we got it.
Did you add a space after line 12 before the end quote?
Yes.
A year ago, year and a half?
3 years ago.
Adding a space right here. Bloop. And I'm going to put these in parentheses. And I'm going to move the question mark. And I'm going to say birthday because what are we, a healthcare company? Get rid of my console. Okay, we now have the user's age. We also have their birth date. So now we need to age them. And I respectfully go back to Smart Keyboard Itzhak. So let's talk about classes.
So when do you have to age them? When you're calculating the balance?
Could do it there, right? We are looping through a file and there's an event for every month. So we know when we're looping through the file what month it is. And I would say that's probably the only time we advance time in our scenario. So I don't know. Yeah, whatever you guys think. Why didn't anyone tell me to zoom in?
Because I can read it.
More good men, come on.
The thing is, I read that several times.
By now, last day, all of us have moved to the front now. There's nobody in the back.
Okay, there you go. There you go. That's right. You all should be proud of yourselves. The last few, the remaining faithful. Well done. Seriously, do you remember how full the room was at the beginning? It's crazy. If you're listening, oh faithful departed, come back.
It's the last class. Even though we won't be here since this is the last class.
There you go. All right, where do we want to age the user? Maybe we should start by writing a function to age the user.
Sure.
Okay.
Do it.
So what would that function look like? What are the inputs and outputs? What should it do?
Gotta take in, I mean, gotta know when a year passes.
So we just add 1 to a year.
Well, yeah, so
Today's date plus
we have
1 year.
the time and, yeah, the time date, once that hits a year. Are we calculating their birthday based off their month still, or are we just doing it based off the year? I can't remember.
So we have their birth month. We asked for their birth date. They typed in a month. So it just depends on how much you want this function to do. Do you want it to simply add a year because we've already determined that it's time? Or do you want it to determine that it's time to add a year and add a year? IDK, LOL.
I think that we have a file, and that file has a number of months, and then when 12 months passes, then we know that it's been a year, and then their age is added.
So every 12 months, add 1 to their age.
What's the start date? How do you tell
So
it?
now you need to remember the month, not just the age. If you're gonna do that, right? So you have to say he's like 17 years and 6 months. If you want to do
Itzhak
that.
agrees with all of you at the same time.
So I believe when you're changing things, this would probably be a variable we store on a class. So I believe generally you want to have a method that only interacts with that variable. So we'd probably start with writing a method that just ages the user. So our larger method can determine whether or not it's birthday and then call that method to age him.
I like it. So let's write a function to just age the user. What are the inputs and the outputs?
Age.
Age is an output.
And input would also be their.
Yeah, the age would be the, we're calculating for aging.
Is age like a
Oh, sorry,
property
int.
on here?
We have not used the P word yet.
Oh,
So please.
so yeah, in that case, you would need something to increase. So yeah, you would need their age.
Need their age, and we're going to return their new age, basically, right? There is a better way to do this that Braden is referring to, but we just didn't get to classes. You'll have to come back to Intro to OO for that, where we will.
Next.
It will be next time. Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, age user. So
Ba-dum-bum.
if the other, you were saying do another method. So if the other thing returns true, then whatever thing we have to calculate. Then we would just add +1 to age.
So yeah, so if this doesn't determine when to age the user, all you're gonna do is increase the age by 1 and return it.
Yeah. But we need something for it to compare against to see if it's going to do that.
Sounds like we need another function. May I write it for you?
I would love you to.
Private static. I don't know what else.
Should age user. Yeah, I don't know. Because this we want to determine when the user should be aged.
Yeah.
What should the return type of should age user be?
True or false.
Okay. What should the inputs for should age user be?
Date time.
It'll be, you need their birthday. Birthday.
Wait, no, so we wouldn't do date time. 'cause we're
Pardon
not
me,
looking at today's
I've
date.
misspelled birthday. There, let's go.
Yeah, we're not gonna be looking at the current date and time. We'd be looking at the birthday, and then we'd be looking at
Event date.
the event date, right?
The event date.
Are we capturing that information?
So the file has that information, but what the file has is the year and the month.
So we'll have to call to that specific, let's see, number 1 on the file line.
So the year is stored at index 0, month is stored at index 1. That's the only date components we have.
So if we looked at, don't we already have something looking at that? The month? Run the code, we don't?
I would expect to see something that says line
I thought we had
data
something that
at
line data
1. Oh, sure enough.
I knew it. So now we can, oh wait, but that's within the actual, that's not within a function, is it?
This is within the main function, and it's where we're looping through every line in the file. So I think this is where we need to do all of the aging of the user. The question is where? There are 28 to 60. There are 32 lines in this loop, and only one exactly right, precise place that I will accept.
So,
The age score, like whether or not.
Where are we calculating the age score?
Yeah.
You ask? Get likelihood score. In fact, calls get age score. So we probably need to do it. I have no idea. You tell me.
I mean, obviously you do have an idea. Wouldn't you do it at the same time you get the age score?
You want to do it at the same time as we get the age score?
Well,
If you're calculating the age score, you would want to know what age they are.
because at first, well,
We could, you could say the age.
Zuck is astounded.
now thinking about edge cases here, I know we have a predetermined file that's going to have a fixed date. So what happens if you are using a date that's like 2 years in the future rather than today?
Yeah, that we lean back on our assumptions that you've got a file and there will be only one event in the file for every month. I should say one and exactly one, but for the purposes of this program, 5-year span, 60 lines in the file, one event for every month. There won't be any, we'll always have an event in a month. So you can assume that. You're right. Yeah, we at Health Equity build processors for files that do dumb things like January 2019, February 2019, August 2023, right? You have to, yeah, I'll share a quote later when I'm not recording. All right, but we can assume for now that there will be a contiguous string of events. There will be no skipping.
Ahead.
So I'm going to suggest that we don't do it when we calculate the age score. I think we should do it before.
So when you get this likelihood score, is that for every line of the file?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For every month.
So we're basically just going to check their age against the month that is received on the file or on that specific line.
if only actually aging was this hard.
It just happens in real life.
So, can you go back up to where you called?
Birthdays
get
are
likelihood
easy.
Score?
Go back up to where we called get likelihood score. You're just in time. Please help us age the user.
Yes. So.
Just kidding.
So on line 29, you have the line data from the file, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's one line.
Yep, we're looping through every line in the file here. Here, we're taking a line in the file and we're breaking it apart into an array so that we can use line data for things like the event likelihood score.
So
and the
there's
event
no
amount.
like specific reason why you're getting the month and the year down lower. You can put that up above, right?
Right.
Once you have line data, you can access that. So I would grab those up a little bit further so that you can use them later on. Because at this point, it's too late. We've already calculated the likelihood score, so you need to get access to those earlier.
Okay. Visual Studio does not have the yelly at me yet, except for should age user. We haven't quite gotten there, but we will. Just calm down, Visual Studio. Visual Studios. Okay, we've parsed the line data. We've grabbed hold of the year and the month. I think we're ready to determine whether we should age the user or not. We have their birthday, we have the month, the current month in the scenario. So let's continue writing this function here. What else do we need to pass in to this function to determine if we should age the user?
The event month.
The event month? Me gusta.
For the purpose of this example, are we not concerned about the possibility that you might have a January birth date and an age on the first event?
So
I think we should
do
account
have-
for that,
We do
yeah.
have the current month and year from the file, right? So we would need both of them, I would assume. I would use both of them.
Okay. Okay. So given a date, which is their birthday, and given a current year, it was fun while it lasted. Given a current date that is their birthday, their current year, and their current month, how can we determine if it's time for the user to age? In order to correctly do this, we would also need to know the current day, right? So, yeah, we can't say that I was born on April, so I've turned 32 on April 1st, right? But that's what we're going to do in our program. So. So I think it's a fair rule to say if it is their birth month, we will age the user. So how can I determine if it is the scenario, the line in the scenario that we're processing is their birth month? And once again, we come to a point where we didn't really talk about dates, so I will give you a hint that we have birthday.month. So any date we can get the month, it's represented as an int, and it will be expressed as a value between 1 and 12. So 1 would be August, 2 would be July, 3 would be April. I'm just kidding. One would be January, 2 would be February. Yeah.
Okay, right there, just said, yeah, when you're highlighting, it says between 1 and 12, from 1 to 12. Okay, so.
So we have their birth month, and we have the current month. So how can we tell if they should age?
Do we want to take into account the year, or are we only like worried about, like we're going to assume that the events are all for like the same years? Like if we got events next year and all you cared about was the month, their age would be wrong.
Well, every year they're going to come across that month and that month.
It's only gonna run this once, so we don't have to worry about it. Like,
So let's make a couple concrete examples, right? The file contains its first event for January. My birthday is also in January. My birthday is January 15th. It is currently January 12th when I run the file. So I say I am 31. We can write the code to say, okay, it's your birth month, the first month in the scenario, add 1 to your age. But my birthday hasn't happened yet.
Right.
That's okay.
So once again, we have to know the actual day. I would say anytime we get to their birth month, we age them because we don't have the day right now. Right? So if we reach their birth month, no matter if it's the first line in a scenario and they've already told us their age or whatever, let's just make the assumption right now, we've detected your birth month, we're going to age you.
So, okay, so we don't even care about the year then,
Es bueno.
because we're just gonna say if your birth month is equal to the current month, age you,
Y4S1.
which is our age.
Which is true, right? Return true.
Okay, we've got a function to determine whether we should age the user or not, as well as a function to age the user. So now, where are we going to stick all of this? Perhaps right here on this line that I've selected? Perhaps on this line? Any line in between? Perhaps after get likelihood score? We want to age them afterwards?
Definitely not.
Definitely not, okay. All right, let's use these functions.
I would. Yeah, doesn't matter. It's preference, I guess, kind of. Right there's great.
Okay, I feel judged by Braden. Does anyone else feel judged by Braden? I'm just...
That's what happens when I sit in the front row.
There you go. I like it. Okay, let's write this code. Someone besides Braden. Braden's done. Time out, Braden.
Thank you. Maybe somebody like Snowball should participate.
I don't know what that is.
Is that a burn?
Not
He
paying
just gets
attention,
a
Burn.
question.
So we've got a function to determine whether we should age or not, as well as a function to increase the age. How can I use them here to make sure that we are taking into account the advancement of
Or
time?
you could just say if whatever day you're currently calculating.
Go on. Okay.
Is less than, or wait, how is it gonna, now I lost my train of thought.
So you have a
Whatever.
function that tells you the time to change.
If the month of whatever month you're currently calculating equals their birth month?
We already did that, Shelley.
Oh. I-
We have a method for that.
Then
Go ahead
never
and call
mind,
it
ignore me.
She wants to call the next.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, when we call should age user, we have to supply a birth day and the current month. Birth date, and what am I going to use for current month?
How are you calculating?
Date, time, not month.
How are you iterating through all the months of the file?
Month is a string, so you have to convert it somewhere.
How about right here? Whoa, we're ready for a file error that will blow up our program, but time is short.
Oh, wow.
You're complaining about Visual Studios.
One more.
She had a good question.
Yeah.
How are you determining that the month has changed? Now it's January, now it's February.
It's
Right.
based on the input from the file. Oh,
Oh.
sorry.
Right, we are inside a loop here. This loop is looping through an array of lines in the file, right? So remember we made a couple assumptions that the file would be in order. So I've got
And you're assuming there's only one per month?
one, there's exactly one for every month. They are sequential.
Okay.
Yep,
Oh,
and we're inside that loop.
okay.
All right, so if we should age the user, then we need to age the user.
Then run the method that we already wrote that ages these.
Okay. And age user returns an int, their new age. So we probably need to store that, right? Okay. Let's add something to our program here to make sure that we are actually aging. This is a temporary output. Age is zoink, 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 bingo.
Why are we storing it 0 or?
So remember, we can create a template string and sub in values into our template. That's all this is doing.
Okay.
Yep. I could have very easily written it like this.
Or do the
Same thing.
The money.
dollar sign.
Or string interpolation, also known as the dollar dollar.
Bill, y'all.
Okay, let's do this. I want to see some ages. What is my birthday? 30
I didn't come prepared.
04 1987. Real birth date, everybody. Oh no! I think it's parsing it in this format instead.
Yes.
Say month, and date, day.
This will be your European data.
Okay, age is 37. Age is 36. Okay, summary total for blah, 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 blah. Once we start processing
The fourth.
the fourth. So these messages are just out of order, but yeah, we write the summary message for, yeah. We write the age message before the summary message. It's basically what we got here. Yep.
But you were born, you put the 4th month in, right?
Yeah, so if I just move this down to our blibbity blur, then we should see correct ages. One, 1999, 1, 10, yes, 1. So a person born in 1999 right now should be 20, depending on their birth month.
Wow.
Here's the summary for 2019-1, and they are 21, right? Because when we say we encounter your birth month, we don't care what day, we're going to age you. Okay, so this seems correct. And the next time we see an age increment, we should see it's right after 2021, and there it is.
Nice.
Okay, and because we're incrementing their age, they fall into different categories. I just happen to say in this scenario that they had 10 kids, so it's hard to see the age points making any difference. But